Hello and welcome. We just got finished reading Salt Woman is Refused Food, which is a story from the Cochiti. And in the story, Old Salt Woman and her grandson are traveling around trying to find people who will feed them. And she goes first to one tribe, and that tribe does not feed her, even though they're preparing for a feast. So they have excess of food, and they're cooking it, and it's meant to be the best food that they could have. And they will not help her. They all refuse her. And so she goes outside to where the children are, and she gets the children to follow her, and she turns them all into jays, the bird. And then she keeps going. She turns them into jays as punishment for the parents being rude. And she continues to go, and she gets to where the Cochiti are. And over there, she asks for some food, and they give her the food, her and her grandson. And then she gives them some of her body. And it says in the postscript that she usually does it through mucus. So I guess she just spat into something, or she gave her, maybe like rubbed her arm off into a bowl, and she said, "Put this onto your food, and it will taste better." And so they put it on their food, and they ate it, and it tasted better. The salt brought out more flavor into all of their food. And so she told them where she was going to be traveling and where they could get more of her flesh, so that they could always go and get salt for their food, and it would be better. And so in this story, you find a lot of things. So first of all, it's just a story to try and explain where salt comes from and where to find it. That is the primary intent of the story, I would say. Looking back, since it tells you how to travel to the place where you can get it, which is the Salt Lake, which is probably why they're saying mucus, because you get the salt out of the water, and the water is like mucus, right? But starting off with, it has a little bit of the same vibe as, the Pied Piper. The Pied Piper, he goes out, he solves a problem for everybody, and then all of them refuse. In their prosperity, they refuse the man who could have brought them more, and who did bring them more. And whenever they refused, what he did was he took all of their children as punishment for their refusal to help. So in this, there's kind of that same sense where there's abundance all around. They have everything they need to be able to provide more for other people. And what they do is they instead keep everything for themselves and cast out the old woman and her grandson. And I don't really know why it's an old woman and her grandson, because the grandson literally does nothing except stay there. He's just there for reasons. So I don't really know if there's any significance to that, aside from just having a grandson, so it just seems worse, the decision they made. So for their refusal, the first thing, if they had given her everything, they were preparing for a feast. She would have made the feast doubly good, which is why giving and helping, I think, is really the number one thing you could take from this part of the story and from the story overall, which is just that when you help other people, even if they don't provide, salt to lighten up the flavor of all of your food, helping people provides salt essentially for the soul, where it's like you feel better. Helping people provides salt for your soul and for your life, where everything just feels better because you know that you helped people, you did a good thing, and it makes life sweeter, and it makes life sweeter for the person that you help too. So accepting help and giving help when requested is a very important thing to do, because it salts your life and the other person's life. And you could also take it where she turns all of their children into blue jays. And if you want to take it more of the spiritual path, that could just be, the children, the things that you're working on, your joys in life, where whenever you refuse to help somebody, the salt essentially comes from the bitterness inside of you. Whenever you salt the earth, it's too much. It makes everything bad. And so that's kind of what occurs. Instead of having the sweet salt of help, you end up getting the bitter salt that kills everything in your life, and you just start to be miserable. And you've even seen the people who just refuse to help other people entirely. They're just incredibly selfish, and you're just like, wow, everything in your life just sucks. You know, it's just you're a bitter person. Everything you touch dies, and nobody wants to be around you, and it makes you bitter, and it makes you want to die. And there, you know, you can call that person salty in English. Just be like, wow, you're a curmudgeon. You bring everything down, and everything comes down that you interact with. So helping people is important because it brings salt to the soul, and refusing people brings a different kind of salt, a poisonous salt, to your soul. And whenever you get to the other people that she later on visits, they help her. They aren't doing a feast. They aren't preparing for anything special, but they're just like, oh, it's a woman in need. And so they provide for her, and she provides salt, and it makes their food taste better. It brings out the other parts of life and makes them stronger, and it's a blessing to them as well. And then she departs, having blessed them by saying, hey, for your help, here is flavor for your life. And so I think it's just a good story to try and remember that helping people is something that we need to do and is good to do, because when we do it, it makes everything else greater or better, more flavorful in life. So that's what I got out of the story. What did you get out of the story? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out one of these other videos right here. Thank you.